Good morning, everybody. My name is Véronique Trillet-Lenoir. I am the co-chair of the MEPs Against Cancer group and the rapporteur of the EP Special Committee on Beating Cancer. I would like to thank all the speakers who will be addressing us today, and I apologize in advance for not being able to name all of them personally. This is the price of success. If you have so many high-level speakers, it is because there is a great commitment to tackle the unacceptable inequality that is pediatric cancers. It is also because SIOP has a formidable ability to raise awareness, and I want to warmly thank for organizing this event, Olga Kozaiva and my dear friend Gilles Vassal. Last but not least, thanks to all the people attending this event today. We will only be successful if the objectives and the commitments are shared all across the civil society. The mobilization of everyone is key to deliver in this domain of rare cancers. This is why I propose in my report to create an EU-level advisory group of stakeholders dedicated to children, adolescents, and young adults cancers, and including patients' associations. Because I really think all stakeholders could support the goal-driven and coherent implementation of the actions from the Europe's Beating Cancer Plan, but also from Horizon Europe and the pharmaceutical strategy. And now I leave the floor to Pamela Kearns, who is the president of SIOP, and to Anita Kienesberger, chair of the CCI Europe committee. Ladies.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of patients, parents, and survivors, CCI Europe want to welcome all of you on the last day of this Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and on this special event. It is very important for us to highlight and discuss once again in this community and for the politicians the unmet needs of everyone who is dealing or has dealt with childhood and adolescent cancer one way or another. Pam.
Thank you, Anita, and thank you very much to Madame Véronique Trillet-Lenoir for really highlighting the important reason that we're here today. And I would also like to add, on behalf of the European Society of Paediatric Oncology, SIOP Europe, that on behalf of the paediatric oncology community, we stand ready to work with CCI Europe, with the MEPs, with the European Commission, to really grasp the opportunities that are now offered to us with the European Beating Cancer Plan, with the mission and with the pharmaceutical strategy. And we want to work with you all on how these can now be implemented. And that is the topic of today's programme. And so with that, we have 3 video addresses from people who have shown huge commitment to the needs of children with cancer. And I'd like to introduce each of them individually, starting off with the first video, which is from Loucas Fourlas, who has been a long friend of the needs of children with cancer. Loucas is an MEP from Cyprus and is a member of the European Parliament's Beating Cancer Committee, the BECA committee, and is also the co-chair of the MEPs Against Cancer Interest Group. And I'd like to present his video now, please. Can we run the video, please?
Dear participants, dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to state that I'm happy to participate in this event, and I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation. SIOP is doing a great job, and I would like to thank you for your proposals on the BECA report. In Europe alone, 1.3 million people die from cancer each year, including 6,000 children. So childhood cancer awareness and support initiatives are very much needed. Therefore, I would like to express my strong support to the Gold September campaign and to congratulate the organization of this event. Personally, I'm very devoted to the fight against childhood cancer. As a founder of the non-profit organization Little Heroes, dedicated to supporting children with cancer. For me, and possibly for many of you, this is very personal. Cancer policy is a top priority in the European Union's agenda. First, in February 2021, the European Commission has adopted Europe's Beating Cancer Plan, a plan that aims in supporting the Member States' efforts to reduce the suffering caused by cancer. Moreover, in September 2020, the European Parliament has established the Special Committee on Beating Cancer. Finally, the MEPs Against Cancer Interest Group, which I have the honor to be a co-chair, which is a group of MEPs which work together to this goal. As a member of both of the initiatives established by the European Parliament, I can assure you that I am confident that in just a few months, our efforts will result in concrete and practical solutions. Prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and post-treatment are the key aspects that we need to focus on. I am convinced that we share the same level of commitment to make a difference to the realities of cancer in Europe. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that you find this event informative.
So a big thank you to MEP Fourlas for that very inspiring video. And it's my pleasure now to introduce our next video address from Stella Kyriakides, again, a long-standing champion of the needs of children and young people with cancer. Stella Kyriakides is the Commissioner for Health and Food Safety and has been leading on a number of portfolios, and importantly, the European Beating Cancer Plan. And she's also been in charge of developing the new pharmaceutical strategy, which I'm sure we will touch on today, to ensure that in Europe we can meet the needs relating to affordable medicines. And so with that, I would like to hand over the video address to Stella Kyriakides.
Honourable members of the European Parliament, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me to address an issue that is very close to my heart, childhood cancer. During this Gold September International Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, efforts are underway in Europe and beyond to raise support, funding and awareness of childhood cancers and the impact they have on their patients and families. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 pandemic has heightened the challenges in addressing childhood cancer, with regular checkups, screenings and treatment being postponed. And this when cancer remains the leading cause of death for children over 12 months of age. Clearly, to reverse this trend, we need a robust response. And this is what we have proposed in the form of Europe's Beating Cancer Plan. The plan puts childhood cancer under the spotlight thanks to policy actions, research efforts and funding. Let me start with some concrete actions. First, we know that adopting a healthy and active lifestyle at a young age is the best way to reduce cancer risks. This is why we will aim to create a tobacco-free generation and revise the EU school fruit, vegetables and milk scheme to make healthy products more available to children. Second, the Helping Children with Cancer initiative will provide children with access to rapid, top-notch detection, early diagnosis, treatment and care. And third, the Interspeciality Cancer Training Program will support the pediatric cancer community to build a strong multidisciplinary cancer workforce. Quality of life for patients and survivors is another key pillar of the cancer plan, and improving the welfare of children is a priority. Among the actions targeting children and young people are the Cancer Survivors Smart Card, which will address the needs of childhood cancer survivors. And the EU network of youth cancer survivors will connect young cancer survivors, their families and carers. To give these actions maximum impact, we have put in place the necessary building blocks to keep the focus on the specific needs of children and young people. This includes working closely with health and research ministries and our stakeholder contact group. I urge you all to get involved in the discussions and help us ensure that the cancer plan delivers for our children. In addition, as part of the cancer plan, €4 billion budget, we have launched a first wave of calls under the EU for Health programme, including an action grant to set up a survivor network and training programme I mentioned a moment ago. Friends, to make sure that there are no bumps on the road to successful targeted implementation of the plan's many impactful actions to tackle childhood cancer, we are looking to all of you, to all relevant stakeholders, professionals, patients, parents and survivors, for full cooperation and commitment. In short, we all need to work together. Thankfully, I know that we can count on the European Society for Pediatric Oncology, the MEPs Against Cancer Interest Group, and European childhood cancer organizations as a whole to offer that engagement. The perspective and insight you brought to the development of the cancer plan will be even more important now during its implementation. With the cancer plan, we want to deliver transformational change for children and young people with cancer. As we mark Gold September, let's continue working together. Let's continue working together to build a more golden future for each and every one of our children. Thank you.
On mute. A big thank you to Stella Kyriakides for really setting the scene and outlining all these opportunities that are now available to us. And I echo her words of asking us all to work together towards these aims. And finally, and it's definitely not last but not least, our last address is from Commissioner Mariya Gabriel, who is the Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. And under her leadership, she's been promoting the Horizon Europe Erasmus Plus and the cultural strand of the Creative Europe programmes for 2021-2027. And now we will hear the perspectives from Commissioner Gabriel. Could you run the video, please?
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to deliver this message during Gold September, an important occasion to raise awareness of childhood cancer. I would like to thank all the organizers and the intergroup members of the European Parliament Against Cancer for the invitation. Yesterday was an important day for Europe. We launched the first ever European Mission on Cancer, with an initial budget of €378 million for the first 3 years. The Mission on Cancer has an ambitious goal. It will aim at improving the lives of more than 3 million people by 2030 through prevention and cure. The well-being of citizens, patients, survivors and their families are at the heart of the mission. Addressing childhood cancer is one of the main objectives of the Cancer Mission and the European Beating Cancer Plan. We'll pay particular attention to the needs of children, teenagers and young adults. First, the Cancer Mission will develop monitoring programs for patients affected by childhood cancer and expand collaboration between networks working on childhood care. Second, the Cancer Mission will boost research and innovation in this field and improve knowledge creation and sharing. These are crucial to speed up translation of research results into efficient clinical care. For instance, by 2023, we'll launch a European platform for understanding cancer and create a European Cancer Patient Digital Center. These two initiatives will work hand in hand with the Knowledge Center on Cancer, launched last June together with Commissioner Stella Kyriakides. Citizens' engagement will be key. We'll design a cancer toolkit with citizens and local communities, targeting different groups such as children, adolescents, and care providers. Thirdly, we'll improve actions towards prevention. Earlier this month, I launched the European Week of Sports and the Healthy Lifestyle for All campaign to raise awareness of the importance of sport and healthy diet to prevent diseases, including cancer. In addition to the missions, other initiatives under Horizon Europe will support our fight against cancer. For example, the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology via the Knowledge and Innovation Community on Health, and the European Innovation Council. In total, Horizon Europe is expected to contribute over €2 billion to activities related to cancer. To succeed in our battle against cancer, we need everyone on board. My wish is to have you in the driving seat of these initiatives. I count on your active participation in Horizon Europe and remain open for your ideas and your suggestions as we drive together the implementation of the cancer mission. Let us unite forces to create a better future for our children. Thank you.
So that completes the initial addresses. So thank you to all the speakers. And it is now my pleasure to co-chair the next part of this meeting, part one, which is alignment and mobilisation to deliver on the potentials of EU Childhood Cancer Agenda. And I'd just like to hand over the speaker to Anita Kienesberger from CCI Europe. Anita.
Yeah, but my video cannot get started. Can someone please fix that? Because I think Pamela is still with you. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
We can hear you. Good. Excellent.
Okay. So thank you. After these really very important addresses from Loucas, Fourlas, Stella Kyriakides and Mariya Gabriel, it is really a pleasure for me to take over, lead to the next part, that we really want to talk about alignment and mobilization to deliver on the potential of the EU Childhood Cancer Agenda. And it is really, I mean, listening to Stella, it's really encouraging and promising what we achieve together, and that we really have to work together. And let's go to the next part of the session. And for that, I want to introduce two very important people for us representing CCI Europe. And first of all, it's Patricia Blanc. You can see her in the picture. She's the first one. She's a mother a bereaved mother. She is a founder of Imagine for Margo. It was her daughter. And she's really very important in the field of EU affairs and research and innovation for us. And the second person you are listening to is Carina Schneider. She's a childhood cancer survivor. Let's be more honest, she's actually an ayah. In her very young age, she got cancer, but she's a psychologist working on the University Clinic in Vienna. Yeah, and Patricia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anita, and good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address how the implementation of cancer initiative in Europe can best serve the needs of children and adolescents with cancer. First of all, I would like to say that as parents and patient representatives, we at CCI Europe welcome the dedicated section on pediatric cancer in the Europe's Beating Cancer Plan and in the Cancer Mission recommendations. Both the access to new treatment and the quality of life for survivors are highlighted in the dedicated session. And this is more than appreciated because children are not like adults. They have specific cancer types and specific challenges. Children need dedicated research programs and dedicated new treatments. As they are a rare disease, pediatric cancer are not attractive for the pharma industry. Over the last 15 years, 150 new cancer medicines have been approved for adults, and only 2 new medicines were developed and specifically approved for children with cancer. And as you are all aware, pediatric cancer are the first cause of death by disease for children over 1 year in Europe. This is not acceptable and it must change. With the Europe Beating Cancer Plan and the EU Cancer Research Programme, children, adolescents and their family can finally have hope for a change. We see this European initiative as a real opportunity for a change, an opportunity that cannot be missed. This is why today I would like to raise the voice of children and parents for having an effective and efficient implementation of EU initiative that will truly benefit children and adolescents with cancer. I would like to raise 3 points before making a proposal to truly make a difference for children. The first point is about prevention. One of the main focus of the Europe Beating Cancer Plan on the cancer mission is prevention. But how can we prevent pediatric cancer? We do not know. Children do not smoke, they do not drink alcohol. If 40% of adult cancer are preventable, childhood cancer are not, because we still do not know why children have cancer. Awareness, big awareness campaigns are very important, but the #1 priority for preventing pediatric cancer is first to understand pediatric cancer. My second point is about dilution with adult cancer. As regards to research and innovation, on access to new treatments, as I said before, children are forgotten. And children will still be forgotten unless we get European initiative dedicated to their specific challenges. Being an ex-member of the Cancer Mission Assembly, I remember the fact for children to be truly and specifically considered. And I'm still afraid of that risk to be diluted in the overall adult cancer discourse, and that after nothing happens for children. And I'm quite concerned about dilution with adult cancer after reading the Cancer Mission Implementation Plan that was published yesterday. Children and adolescents deserve visible, dedicated programs and dedicated fundings up to their ambitions. Funding must reach the ones who need it. Putting childhood cancer under the spotlight, as written in the Europe Beating Cancer Plan, is great. But what we are really looking for is for the impact on children. So my final point is about the lesson learned from COVID-19. With the pandemic, we learned that first, we know how to accelerate development of new drugs, accelerate authorization, accelerate choices of molecule, create platform trial. It has been done. We know how to make it happen. Also, we learn how much cooperation is key. All stakeholders together, politicians, regulators, scientists, private and public sectors, can make things happen together. Therefore, why don't we use the lessons learned from COVID-19 for the disease that is the first cause of death for children in Europe and for survivors to get a better life? So finally, here is our proposal for an efficient implementation of the European Cancer Initiative. Let's create a childhood cancer advisory board. the pediatric cancer community, with all stakeholders together, would highlight unmet needs and priorities, increase cooperation, ensure that concrete actions are being done, and would help the coordination between all EU cancer initiatives towards one goal: a successful impact for children and adolescents in Europe. And now I will hand over to Carina Schneider, a survivor representative of CCI Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Patricia, also for your very impressive speech. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today here about Europe's impact on the quality of survivorship. So we have heard, we have seen that Europe puts childhood cancer under the spotlight. Europe looks into survivorship, and not only into the survival rates, but also into the actual quality of survival. Europe invests in the improvement of quality of survivorship, in the quality of life of survivors of childhood, adolescent, and young adult cancer. We also heard just 2 weeks ago an action call closed, an action call on the establishment of a European network for youth cancer survivors, with the aim to empower survivors to become advocates for themselves, become advocates for their mental and physical health, to reduce the disruptive impact cancer has on each single area of the lives of young cancer survivors. Meanwhile, other projects, other EU-funded projects are running to improve the quality of survivorship, are running in the middle of their runtime or quite at the beginning. Why? Because Europe decided to invest in them. For instance, PanCare follow-up project started in 2019 with a runtime of 5 years. So quite soon it will deliver a best practice, state-of-the-art follow-up care model, which, as soon as it's finished, will be ready to be taken and implemented by all EU member states and beyond, because Europe invested in it. Then, for instance, the survivorship passport, which we have heard already today as the smart card, has been developed over so many years now in several projects that Europe invested in. And most recently, the PanCare Surpass project, which started just in the beginning of this year. So the survivorship passport can be implemented by all EU member states and beyond, because, again, Europe invested in it. So the EU invested and still invests in so many projects because I believe the EU believes that the joint expertise from healthcare professionals and patient experts across Europe can make a change for the better for each survivor across Europe. However, not one single survivor will be helped if the EU member states do not implement what has been developed by Europe. If the EU member states do not equip their health systems to deliver the care models the EU invested in, not one single survivor will benefit of what Europe is offering. So, for today, on this last day of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, my question to all of you, to all members of the European Parliament is, what will you do to help us make sure that this will happen, so that the outcomes that Europe invests in, the outcomes that we all invest in, will help the survivors in all our countries? Thank you.
Thank you, Carina, and thank you for Patricia for these really well articulated expressions of the needs and the potential future that we could have for childhood cancer if we implement all the opportunities on offer. And having heard from the parents, patients and survivors perspective, I'd like to now hand over the floor from an academic, from a pediatric oncologist perspective. And we have two fantastic speakers now, leaders in their field. First, Professor Gilles Vassal, from a pediatric oncologist from Gustave, Roussy, who is a board member of SIOP Europe and also leads on our policy agenda, and is also the chair of 2 important European initiatives, Accelerate and ITCC, both of which are dedicated to putting the infrastructure in place and overcoming the hurdles for drug development in childhood cancer. And then we're going to hear from Professor Tomasz Szczepański, who is a pediatric oncologist from Katowice in Poland, and he is the president of the Polish Society of Pediatric Oncology and Hematology, and is also a board member for SIOP Europe, and is a co-chair of SIOP Europe's Clinical Research Council, representing the national societies in Europe for pediatric oncology. So I hand over the chair first to Gilles Vassal.
Thank you very much, Pam. Good morning, everyone. May I have the next slide, please? So President von der Leyen said that children with cancer are under the spotlight of Europe. And this is absolutely true. And all of us recognize this major message in the actions and the measures which are implemented. The European Beating Cancer Plan with its dedicated flagship initiative, the revision of the pediatric and orphan regulation within the pharmaceutical strategy, and the recommendation by the Mission Board, the Cancer Mission Board, on cancers in children, adolescents, and young adults, cure more and cure better. But if we look at the 3 initiatives, there are other actions beyond the one that are dedicated to childhood cancer, which are relevant for the care, for research and education for childhood cancers in children, adolescents, and young adults. The Knowledge Center in the Beating Cancer Plan, the issue of shortages and the access, availability of the new medicine across Europe for all children. And in the Cancer Mission, as mentioned by Commissioner Gabriel, the implementation plan was just released yesterday. And indeed, childhood cancer are mentioned in several actions, but there is not this strong recommendation that were proposed by the Cancer Mission. And in addition, on the next slide, there are other initiatives across Europe that are very important to achieve the goal: cure more children, cure them better, and reduce inequalities. Just mentioning the Shaping Europe's digital future and the health data space, the Child Rights Initiative as well, and of course the EU for Health program. At the moment, the community with parents, patients, survivors, and all researchers and clinicians and professionals are concerned about the risk of having all this initiative working in silos. And this is why we propose on the next slide, as alluded to and proposed by Patricia Blanc earlier on, the creation of childhood cancer advisory board that would really support and provide the support and expertise to goal-driven and coherent implementation of all these measures, not only in the 3 cancer missions, but across all initiatives. And we fully support the proposal from the BECA, from the Parliament, that Véronique alluded to really create this initiative in order to really achieve our goal, cure more patients, cure them better, and inequalities. Having said that, I would like to hand over to Tomasz Szczepański, who will give a few examples of what it is about and what needs really to be addressed. Thank you.
Professor Szczepański, please go ahead.
Many thanks, Gilles. Many thanks, Pam. Indeed, we can see inequalities in care for pediatric oncology in Europe. If I may have a next slide. What are the facts? This difference is overall up to 20% in survival across Europe. What are the other facts? Definitely there is lack of access to the best possible standard diagnostics, research and care in some countries. There is potential resource constraint in countries with relatively lower health expenditure rates. There is need for expertise sharing across Europe, especially for rare and complex cases. Furthermore, there are bottlenecks in access to not only novel anti-cancer therapies, but also to essential drugs. What was done already is to create the European pediatric cancer infrastructure. It exists in Europe and has been closely linked and working together with the European Reference Network PETCAN in fighting inequalities. In the next slides, you could see the key figures, how those inequalities turn up into survival. You can see that at the moment, we can all cure more than 80% of children with cancer. But definitely, if you look on the first picture, you can see that the countries, especially in Eastern Europe, this difference between 80% between the equal in Europe in some of the countries is significant. Also, when you look to summary of the access to essential anti-cancer medicines that was done by Gilles and colleagues, you can definitely see that there are some countries where there is significant lack of access to essential medicines. And this is also related to global income per country per capita. So definitely we need to give this access to all children in Europe. In the next slide, you see that there is need for synergy. This synergy must include EU research programs, also clinical trial regulation and general data protection regulation, pharmaceutical strategy for Europe, orphan and pediatric regulations, HTA regulations, cross-border healthcare directive, European Health Data Space and Knowledge Center on Cancer. We need to address childhood cancer inequalities, and this requires a synergistic approach between ongoing EU initiatives of relevance and beyond the most welcome Europe Beating Cancer Plan and its flagship initiative on childhood cancer. We shall do everything that we can that questions of inequalities in treating pediatric oncology is not dissolved within the huge field of oncology. Therefore, we need to do more and we need to work together to attune our activities. Thank you very much for your attention.
So, thank you. Thank you. I think that it's a great pleasure for me to chair this second part of the meeting. And I have to say that many of the main problems and let's say words regarding what's going on in around the pediatric cancer world have been very well highlighted by the people who have addressed different topics. The second part of this meeting has a title: Childhood Cancer in Focus, Making the Most of the Momentum. So we wanted to discuss now with the people you can see now in this slide, and who are all prominent people coming from the academia, from the world of survivors, of families, from the Commission, from the European Parliament. It's a great honor to have all these people here speaking with us, for our kids, for our families. So it is crucial to discuss how to make the most of the currently very ambitious childhood cancer policy agenda. And we would like to focus on the following topics: the civil society involvement in the implementation of the Europe Board, the Europe Beating Cancer Plan and Horizon Europe program, including the cancer mission, the landscape of the EU legislative for health data sharing, including in relation to the General Data Protection Regulation. This is a very sensitive topic because as a field where the diseases are few, the variability is high, and still there are great medical needs, it is very important to have this discussed as well. And the survivorship. We have already heard that this is one main topic for our kids becoming adolescents and adults. So I will be pleased to have or to pose specific questions to our panelists, and I will ask the first question to Dr. Peter Liese, MEP member and EPP shadow rapporteur for the Special Bleeding Cancer Committee. So the question to Dr. Liese is the following. As a long-term childhood cancer supporter, how do you foresee the role of the European Parliament in ensuring a focused implementation of childhood cancer actions across Europe's Beating Cancer Plan and the Horizon Europe and Cancer Mission to make sure that this momentum delivers for the benefit of Europe's youngest citizens? So this is a very important topic. So let's ask Dr. Peter Liese to answer this question. Dr. Liese, the floor is yours.
So, I'm sorry, I was surprised how fast you went forward. So I was following, but I'm not yet on my desk. So if you could go for Patricia Toia first.
Sure.
And then take me second.
I have to say that the first part was really straightforward and everyone was on the schedule. So no problems at all, Dr. Liese. I see our friend, MEP Patricia Toia. I know her personally. She's from Milano. She's an Italian and she's a very good friend of us. So I will ask Patricia Toia to answer this additional question, and thank you for all your cooperation with our goals. Patricia Toia is from the S&D group, is vice chair of the ITRE committee, and is a substitute member of the Beating Cancer Committee. So the question to you as a vice chair of the European Parliament Research Committee is, how would you see the role of the European Parliament in making sure that the needs of children and adolescents with cancer are appropriately addressed in all relevant funding streams, including to be able to benefit from developments in big data and artificial intelligence? So we are touching a very important topic, big data and artificial intelligence involvement. So thank you, MEP Patricia Toia. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello everyone. Thank you to SIOPE, PanCare, ESSL, and Childhood Cancer International for organizing this event, this important meeting, and convening so many stakeholders to take stock of the action the EU can put forward for the benefits of children and adolescents with cancer. I share your approach because we have figures very alarming, considering also the stresses produced by the outbreak of COVID-19, but we have another data which must not go under the radar. There is nearly 500 million childhood cancer survivors in Europe, and this is a point, a very important point that you mentioned and the other panelists mentioned. That's why I am very glad that a new EU network of youth cancer survivors will be set up in 2022. About your question, I want to make you sure and all participants that the Parliament will play a very important, crucial role in ensuring that the pediatric dimension first, to ensuring the pediatric dimension of cancer was duly recognized from research to medicine availability in the appropriate funding program Mail Horizon and the EU for Health. This is a point very important because let me do a little point which is very, very important for me. We have to remember that this initiative was thought to be cancer, childhood cancer, as a childhood cancer. This global initiative from Commission, from Parliament, originally thought to be a childhood cancer mission. It has now a wider scope, as a colleague mentioned now, which is absolutely right, but Europe must now capitalize on its prior support to pediatric cancer project by delivering dedicated substantial substantial and focused investment in research and innovation, and so to employ artificial intelligence and all the data and all the digital application to combat childhood cancer in a holistic way. This is my strong opinion and my strong position, because we have not to forget this point of starting. In particular, we have to develop supporting action to improve the quality of cancer care, including prevention, screening, early diagnosis, monitoring, treatment, but also supportive and palliative care. All those initiative, application, action have now to put in place, in particular for pediatric cancer patients. I think against this backdrop, this very gap, we have to come over. In most oncology-related diagnosis, the application of digital in all possibility, and in particular for artificial intelligence, are crucial for various modalities, from precision oncology, next generation sequencing, to digital pathology on data management of patients. Europe Beating Cancer plan announced the launch of a new European Cancer Imaging Initiative to appropriate in this field, promoting new methods to improve the quality and speed of screening program using artificial intelligence. So I think in this global approach, this is a very comprehensive approach with Horizon, with Mission Cancer, with Health for You, and we have to include, and we are not at the end of this engagement. We have to include also the possibility from, and also call and other projects from Digital Europe. Digital Europe is a big program. We have to add to other file I mentioned, also Digital Europe is a big and important program we are developing in this month, in this year. And I think also in Digital Europe, we have to put this priority, this goal. This is a new initiative, a new possibility we can add to the other to improve this possibility for our goal we share together with a very impulsive. And I think I will pose this problem to my colleague to try some new possibility from the new program Digital Europe. In any case, I want to make you sure my engagement will continue with my colleague.
We are sure that for your long-standing engagement and the clarity of, you have focused very much on the, the very important, very much important aspects of the digitalization and associated problems. So thank you very much, MEP Patricia Toia. I will come back to Peter Liese, who is now in his position with a nice blue light background, and I will hand over the floor to him. Just repeating just a little, very briefly, the question, because it's a very important question. How do you foresee the role of the European Parliament on the implementation of childhood cancer actions across Europe, BT Cancer and Horizon Europe, to make sure that our kids and adolescents will benefit at the maximum level from these initiatives? The floor is yours, Dr. Liese. Thank you for participating.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation, and sorry for the technical problem. I'm now where I should be, but I was happy even when I was not in my office to listen to all the speakers. It's very close to my heart to better help children and adolescents that suffer from cancer or have suffered from cancer. I worked in a pediatric department of an hospital, and I'm very happy that we managed as EPP to make this a priority for all our party and all European institutions. And that is also due to personal personal experience by our chair, Manfred Weber. He lost his brother at a very early age. And the Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, lost her sister, also with pediatric cancer. So they are really motivated. And I think we can give a very clear answer to the question, why should Europe care? Pediatric cancer is the most frequent cause of death after the first age, but it's still very rare when it compares to adults. And that's why without international cooperation, without European cooperation, it will just not work. And we need to address this in Europe because otherwise member states alone will not be able to address it. I'm very happy that we have the cancer mission now. It was also something that EPP promoted very much, our friend Christian Ehler in Horizon Europe. We need to take care that it's really focused on pediatric cancer. And I was really impressed by the question of Carina Schneider. Now, what can we really expect from all this? You know, we have this special committee on beating cancer, and we are working on our final report now. I'm happy to work with Véronique as a rapporteur and the other shadow rapporteurs. I'm the rapporteur for EPP. And we as EPP, we want to make it very concrete. So we want legislation and concrete structures that change people's life, not only recommendation that member states can ignore or can follow, but concrete points. I'm very sympathetic to the idea of a pediatric cancer board that I heard today from a few of the previous speakers. And I would add 3 other concrete points which we need to address in the committee and then convince the Commission to follow. We have learned, and it was mentioned already today, we have learned from many of our experts in the Cancer Committee that cross-border research is very difficult. You have a lot of obstacles. And our view as EPP is we should not have obstacles. We should have the red carpet for all scientists that want to cooperate to fight pediatric cancer and other cancer in Europe. And that's why we have proposed the idea of a special envoy that takes care of cross-border cancer research, that puts together all the problems and identifies solution so that really we go away from having obstacles to a red carpet for everybody that wants to do cross-border research. And this is in no area it is more important than in pediatric cancer. Second point, we want to concretely change the cross-border healthcare directive. And we say in our amendment, we want a drastic change because patient rights in cross-border healthcare are key for children suffering from cancer and their family, because the best treatment is not always in the respective member state. And there may also be family reason why one wants to go in another member state. And the European Treaty not only allows more rights for the patients, but it also imposes us to have the freedom of movement also for patients. And the court has already done some court cases which go much further than the current practice and the existing legislation. So we need to change that. And last but not least, we want concrete legislation on cancer survivors. It is good to say we want to recommend the member states to follow Belgium and France, but it would be better to have concrete legislation. And I'm very grateful to our friend Tomislav Sokol, who is a lawyer and worked on, for example, a concrete proposal to change the insurance directive so that cancer survivors are not discriminated by European insurance companies or companies that work in Europe. So these are very concrete proposals, and I hope we find a majority in Parliament and then also convince member states and Commission. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Lies, because these words are very concrete, and people like you and MEP Patricia Toia will reassure us that there is, the real willingness to go further on this road. So let's come to John Ryan, who I thank him very much to be today with us. It's a great pleasure. And I will pose you this question. He is the Public Health Director at DG Santé. How can the Pediatric Cancer Organization best contribute to a coordinated implementation of Europe's Beating Cancer Plan initiatives on childhood cancer and other relevant programs, in particular the cancer mission and the pharmaceutical strategy? John Ryan, thanks for coming, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, Carmelo. And let me say that I think one of the success factors for the Europe Beating Cancer Plan will not only be the engagement of the Commission departments who are involved, and there are many Commission departments involved. It will not only be the involvement of the Member States, but it will also depend in our triangular approach on the stakeholders. And I mean, by stakeholders, I mean patient groups, I mean health professionals, and I mean those who are perhaps interested in cancer from the manufacturing of pharmaceuticals point of view. So we want to have a very inclusive and open stakeholder involvement in the implementation of this plan. Now, there is a published Beating Cancer Plan, published and agreed by the Commission, and this is now it's now in the public domain. We also have an implementation plan, which is a standard Commission document. You've seen the implementation plan published this week for the cancer mission of the Horizon Europe program, but we are going to publish a more general implementation plan for the whole Beating Cancer Plan. And this will have a line-by-line indication of what the deadlines are, who's doing what, and so on. So I think we're trying to be as transparent as possible. We've published the action plan, we're publishing the implementation plan. I wanted to mention that we're in the process of setting up a stakeholder group. The stakeholder group will involve, as I said, patient groups from different, with different interests in the topic of cancer, because there will be people who have a specific interest in, for example, alcohol-related cancers. There will be a specific interest for people who have an interest in vaccination and HPV. There will be a specific interest of people with a speciality in childhood cancer. So we want to be as open as possible. We're not imposing anything here, we're opening possibilities. And the invitation letters to this stakeholder platform are on their way to you at the moment, and we hope that you will be actively involved in this. We have no objection at all to the idea of having a specific group on childhood cancer. So if it's felt important by the participants in this seminar to have a specific discussion group which would look at the different actions that are planned on cancer from a perspective of pediatric cancer, no problem at all. So the door is open, the invitation is there. We hope to get this off the ground during the course of the month of October. So we're not talking about a long-term perspective here, we're talking about something that we hope could be kicked off very quickly. I wanted to mention in addition that in respect of some of the points that were mentioned earlier by Patricia Tolia and also by Peter Lisa, in particular the issues of artificial intelligence, the European health data space, the pharmaceutical strategy, and the cancer mission, which was published earlier this week by DG Research. All of these will contribute to the implementation of the cancer plan. So it's not a public health action plan. It covers a whole series of different initiatives. And what Peter Lisa was saying about cross-border healthcare, he's absolutely right. If you look at the implementation report of the Commission on the cross-border healthcare directive, it is unsatisfactory. It's unsatisfactory because it's not properly exploited in terms of how it's implemented. So we are looking at this, and we're also looking at the possibilities for using the European reference networks, for example, for rare diseases. This might also be a tool that we could use to boost the assistance given to patients either to travel themselves or to receive advice across borders. And finally, on the legislation on survivors, we are examining as part of the Cancer Plan how we can help the growing numbers. It's good news that there are growing numbers of survivors, but that brings its own problems. And we're very much open to discussing with stakeholders what these problems are and how the European Commission can be involved in finding legal or paralegal solutions to this. I just wanted to mention finally that there's a prize which was launched by Commissioner Andriukaitis, who was the last European Commissioner for Health. He launched an EU prize for health. And we are actually launching today an EU prize for Health Award for cancer prevention. And I'll put the link to that in the chat box later. But I'd advise the colleagues who are online, the associations who are online, I'd invite you to have a look at this and to please use your experience and use your expertise to give visibility to cancer prevention for children through this prize mechanism. Thank you very much.
Well, John Ryan, your words were very, open and clear, and thanks for the opening the door, as you said, to our request. This is felt from our community very important. So we are very glad to listen to your opening words. Thank you very much. I would go now to Dr. Barbara Kerstiens, who is the head of the Combating Diseases Unit at the Commission's DG for Research and Innovation. Dr. Barbara Kerstiens is already online. I see her on the screen. Thank you for coming. So the question for Dr. Kerstiens is the following. The EU Programme for Research and Innovation has been instrumental in supporting cross-border structures for pediatric cancer in Europe, based on projects such as the European Network for Cancer Research in Children and Adolescents. Crosstalk among EU programs is often emphasized. What synergy do you foresee in the implementation of Horizon Europe cancer programs and the Europe's Beating Cancer Plan spotlight on childhood cancer, and what role can civil societies play? So the question is very long. I'm sure that you will give us a complete answer to this question. Thank you very much, Dr. Kerstiens.
Yes, thank you very much. As the commissioners already mentioned in their video message, it's an exciting time in our fight against cancer. Also for us with the launch of the cancer mission, the adoption of the communication and the implementation plan. What we have ensured throughout is a very close cooperation with the colleagues in DG Santé, so that there is really the Beating Cancer Plan and the mission will work synergistically together. I heard that there was some concern that in the implementation plan that has been published for the mission, that childhood cancer would be diluted. I think it's on the contrary. We, throughout the implementation of the mission, and especially also with respect to the research and innovation dimension of it, we will focus on, have a focus on childhood cancer, because children are a specific group in our society, and they are also the future of Europe. They have specific needs that need to be addressed, and clinical trials, for example, if you carry out clinical trials with products destined to children, the specific characteristics of these children need to be taken into account. So we have, under the mission, we propose, and that was another point raised by previous speakers, is that there's still a lack of understanding how cancer in children develops. And that is one of the reasons why we propose to launch this Uncanny EU platform, a unique digital platform where researchers all over the world can share and have access to high quality research data. And the research actions put forward will ask specific attention to childhood cancer. In terms of prevention, we want to target our efforts to vulnerable groups, including children. And we believe that in terms of diagnosis, treatment and care, the development of these comprehensive cancer infrastructures should lead to more accessible, higher quality and better integrated care. And these comprehensive cancer infrastructures should have a research dimension. And in that research at the Mendes, as these comprehensive cancer infrastructures, the aim is also to develop them and link them up throughout Europe. We believe that that is also one of the ways that we will tackle the obstacles that were mentioned about the conduct of trials across Europe, because indeed we need to acknowledge that it is not that easy to conduct trials across Europe because of the competencies the member states have and the important role they have to play in approval of such trials, but also, and it was mentioned by other speakers as well, the whole complex issue of data sharing in the context also for GDPR. I also wanted to highlight that indeed artificial intelligence and the whole digital dimension of providing treatment care, but even prevention, is something that we need to capitalize on for the research that will be put forward. And definitely there will be linked with the cancer imaging initiative. Last, what I wanted to say is also that civil society will have an important role to play in emissions, because a mission needs to be, let's say, tackling cancer needs to become more visible than it has been up to now for society at large, because of course in the group that is participating in this seminar it's quite clear. But we need also to make sure that we address the needs of children, for example, but also the need of children in general, cancer patients, survivors. And there we need to better understand what the needs are, and they may be expressed differently in different parts of Europe. So that is why we believe that this citizen engagement process that we will develop under the missions will give a very differentiated voice across Europe to citizens, and including those affected by cancer, especially children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kerstens. You touched all the topics, and you reassured us that cancer, children with cancer are in the spotlight of the initiatives. And thanks also, John Ryan, for sharing in the chat the address where anyone can participate for this important initiative. Thank you very much, John. So I will go on with another, person who is very much involved in this area, Dr. Mojca Gobec. I hope that I pronounced correctly the name. She's the head of the Disease and Injury Prevention Unit at the Ministry of Health of Slovenia, and representing also the Slovenian presidency of the Council of the EU. So thanks for participating and for addressing this question I'm going to pose. We know that the Slovenian presidency of the Council has a historic role in initiating the EU joint actions on cancer and placing especially childhood cancer firmly on the agenda. So during the current Slovenian presidency, we were inspired by the message of support from the Slovenian Foreign Affairs Minister. So the question is, what is the vision of the presidency for childhood cancer policy in the EU in regards to the implementation of childhood cancer spotlight in Europe's Beating Cancer Plan? So, Dr. Gobec, thanks for coming, and the floor is yours.
Hello to everyone. Thank you for inviting me and for the opportunity to share with you the view and the aspiration of Slovenian presidency with regard to cancer policy in EU. So cancer has been health priority during first Slovenian presidency of the Council in 2008, and we are very pleased that we contributed to giving cancer a more prominent role in EU. Together, we have achieved a lot, but there are still many challenges in front of us. So cancer is, again, one of the key 4 priorities also during our presidency, which we hold just right now. What is different? Today, the cancer is on the top of the EU agenda. Now we have an ambitious Europe Beating Cancer Plan, Mission on Cancer, on Horizon program, and all this is posed one of the key pillars of the strong European Health Union. So these programs tackle every stage of disease pathway, from prevention to quality of life of cancer patients and survivors, focusing on action spanning across several policy areas. In Council conclusions we are preparing, and hopefully the ministers will adopt them in December in EPSCO Council, we are focusing on the implementation of the European beating plans. So we are looking forward to the roadmap presented by Commission, and we invite Commission to explore the instruments and tools to support Member States in implementing the plan. We must ensure a voice and active role of Member States, health professionals, patient groups, and all other relevant non-governmental organizations and other stakeholders in the implementation process of the European Beating Cancer Plan. And we would like to see a comprehensive approach on health promotion and prevention of cancer, by which also other non-communicable diseases can be prevented. We need investment in sustainable cancer prevention by addressing health determinants of cancer as an intersectoral challenge through a health in all policies approach. It's very important that by implementing European Beating Cancer Plan, we address also unmet needs of pediatric cancer patients. We heard a lot of it today. And we have to address existing inequalities in pediatric cancer care, lack of therapeutic innovation, and also pay special attention to pediatric cancer survivors. In our Council conclusions, we specifically call for implementation of comprehensive approaches to the challenge of survivorship related to the quality of life of cancer survivors, with special regard to children and young adults. In Slovenia, just to touch a little bit on our practice, the 5-year net survival of all childhood cancer exceeded 85%. And since decades, we have systematically monitored the adverse long-term effect over lifetime and provide psychosocial support for cancer survivors. We are prepared to share good practices and experiences. To conclude, Slovenia and also other member states clearly strongly supports EU cooperation in the area of cancer and also pediatric cancers. And it's clear that that we can successfully address pediatric cancers and all related topics in a coordinated way at EU level. This approach is crucial. And it's important to have synergies between numerous initiatives and programs we heard about. So to the idea of Childhood Cancer Advisory Board, it looks very promising and a good idea to link all these initiatives together. And last but not least, it's very important that member states should or will implement actions also on national level. So we have to make sure that national cancer plans are also looking at or include the childhood cancer in their plans. And we have to look how they're implemented and how the member states used all these European programs, initiative and mechanism to successfully implement to really make a difference in real life for children with cancers and their families.
Thank you.
Over, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gobetz, because your words are not only words, we feel that are concrete plans, and thank you also from the whole pediatric cancer community to accept as well the idea of the Childhood Cancer Advisory Board. This is very important to us, and thanks for all your nice programs and words. So I will go now to three additional, I think we are on time, 3 big voices coming from the parents, survivors, academia. And it's my pleasure to have Delphine Hennen from the European Affairs Committee lead of Childhood Cancer International, which is, well known. We see the the logo on the background of the Delphine. And Delphine, I will ask her this question. What are your thoughts on the statements by policymakers on the panel? In other words, are there any actions that you would ideally see in addition to the proposed ones? Are there any additional needs? Your voice will be very much heard today. Thank you, Delphine.
Thank you. Thank you. I must say I was going to push forward the idea of Childhood Cancer Advisory Board, but I've been so delightfully surprised by the support that we've been receiving throughout this meeting today for the concept that I feel that I don't really feel the urge of reinforcing the concept. I'm quite confident that now it's going to take place and going to be implemented. And I'm only going to say, hopefully, patients will be included within the community of the board, because I think that we can definitely contribute a specific angle that also needs to be taken into account. I am the mother of a child who was diagnosed with cancer and who relapsed in 2015, and I was actually very shocked to process two parallel thoughts. On the one hand, low chances of survival because it was an aggressive relapse and not a very innovative treatment offered to him, and even in the event of a non-effective treatment, no salvage options such as a clinical trial open for him. And this tough luck for children with cancer, it's not only my son, it's most children in Europe. We still don't have access to sufficient innovation, and we still need a lot more efficient and less toxic treatments. So there is a lot of work to be done, and there is a lot of work to be done on equal access and on a better ride, if I may say, psychosocial care throughout the whole treatment for children with cancer. And the opportunities that are being offered to us now with Europe's Beating Cancer Plan, with Horizon Europe, it really feels like we have to reap 100% of the benefits. And it's a bit mind-boggling because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of different actions and programs and funding and regulation that are all together being amended or put in place simultaneously. So the advisory board is more than necessary to ensure, but we also need to make sure that the advisory board gets to a certain extent funded so that actual people can work on it. Because it's one thing to say that you create a committee, you also have to make sure that it's actually functioning and that it can deliver. And we really don't want to miss all the opportunities that are being offered to us right now. And I really want to add, the pediatric cancer community really has to offer to everyone. We can really work as a proof of concept for other communities. I mean, pediatric cancer or rare cancers, whatever we implement or find out for pediatric cancers can also be rolled out for other rare cancer patients. And I think that we shouldn't overlook that, the added value that we can offer. But pediatric cancer are also non-communicable pediatric diseases. Whatever we do for pediatric cancer can also help and inspire other disease areas. And we should really make sure that, we invest sufficiently in what we're doing now, but we also remember for other disease areas. So really the advisory board is more than a necessity, knowing that the coordination and keeping track of everything that's happening really needs to be safeguarded. So thank you very much, and hopefully.
Thank you, Delphine. Your lucid words and thinkings, I think that are very clear, and this is a characteristics of parents. I have to say, they are very lucid and go to the point, very straightforward. So thank you. I think that the panel has heard with much interest your words.
Thank you.
I would go now to Dr. Katrin Scheinemann, who is the chair of PanCare. So we are touching one by one the different topics and areas. This is the area of survivorship. So Dr. Katrin Scheinemann is the chair of PanCare. So how do you perceive the current opportunities to address the needs of childhood cancer survivorship in Europe? So this is a very broad topic, but I'm sure you will concentrate your thoughts in a few minutes.
Thank you very much, Carmelo. We are really thankful for the first step, like really enhancing survivorship and the quality of life within Europe. But we have to see that the survivorship passport, as well as the smart card or international guide follow-up care guidelines, are only a tool. And this tool needs really to implement it to make the difference, as Carina mentioned already, in the life of survivors. So the tools need to be implemented, they need to be educated on. Survivors have to understand what they are doing with a smart card or with a survivorship care plan, really. And we also have to educate healthcare providers to then really deliver the care they need. And this has to be like really across borders. We have not only inequalities with regards to like treating childhood cancer, but also in follow-up care. And we really have to overcome them. We have a lot of research going on also, as Carina mentioned already, on care models. And there are maybe models differently for each country because we have not one solution fits it all. We have different healthcare system. We have to individualize this. And then, but also looking like one step further, what would be the goal with regards to research, not only implementing care, but also make a real challenge. So we really need like intervention research in the future to minimize this long-term side effects and not just like to follow up them and treat them when they're out there, but hopefully to prevent them and go as early as during the active treatment. So that would be my short view on that. Thank you, Carmelo.
That is a great statement, and this is very clear. I think this is going straight forward to the point, and I'm sure that this will be one of the topics will be addressed in the next years. So I will finish last but not least, it's just the case to say this way, with Professor Ruth Ladenstein, who is SIOP Europe board member, but she has also been president of SIOP Europe and is the ERN-PEDCAN coordinator. So she knows very well and can address this question. What are your thoughts on the statements made by the policymakers today in the panel? And do you see any additional needs or additional topics to be stressed and to be addressed? Professor Ladenstein, thanks, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Carmelo. I think I would like to start to really congratulate all the stakeholders present in the meeting and high-level politicians that have given such a strong commitment towards childhood cancer. And I'm thrilled by the spirit to embark into a future that really makes a difference in this very field. For many years, I think pediatric oncology has fought very strongly to turn the page. But we worked for many years with off-label drugs, almost 80%. We have this late effect scenario, and there's so much to do across the whole field. So all these actions that we need, in the one hand, in the field to better understand and maybe come up with ideas of prevention, which is not a given at all currently. We know a little bit and step by step more about predisposition syndromes, which is a chapter by itself, but then really to bring new treatments so that we really can make it happen, these better cures and better quality of life after a cancer cure. So I hope that we will see all these implementation opportunities. I'm thrilled by the strong commitment. And I really, from the depth of my heart, really hope that we can manage the implementation of all these opportunities which are currently here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, because these are very, very important words. And I see from the chat, which has been very lively today, that John Ryan also was very active and shared the fact that the implementation plan for the Europe Beating Cancer Plan is being finalized and will be published in the coming days. So we have on-air direct information from John Ryan. And I think that unfortunately there is not that much time to have questions and answers because we are running out of time. My impression, as I think that I share this with Pamela Kearns, who is the current president, as the president-elect of the SIOP Europe, is that this was an extraordinary plan, day, hours. I have heard great commitment, not only words, but concrete plans. We have heard the politicians, the European Commission, but also the professionals, the parents. This is really a panel that can work and can give answers for the next year to our kids. So thank you very much from the profound of my heart. And I will hand over the floor to Pam Kearns, Professor Trillet-Lenoir, and Anita Kienesberger. Thanks again to everyone.
To you, Véronique.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all the speakers for their participation and bright interventions. I know that we have a few time left for the take-home message, so I will very briefly choose 3 of them that are priorities of our European Cancer Beating Plan. We must dedicate more funds and time to cross-border research on pediatric and rare cancers. We must ensure fair access to pediatric and orphan drugs and offer best treatment through the healthcare directive. And last but not least, we must better integrate and promote the needs and the rights of children, young adolescents, their families and careers, including a legislative text on the right to be forgotten. Many other things have been said, but to summarize is to choose, and the choice was difficult. I hope you have enjoyed this moment, and thank you very much for your participation.
Anita.
Yeah, for my closing remarks, I really want to say only a few words, but for us as patient, parent and survivors representative, one of the biggest momentums to act started actually on the 4th of February in 2020 in the EU Parliament. That day started a Europe-wide promise to do everything possible to achieve as much as possible to overcome many of the hurdles we are facing, what we have heard today. This ambitious plan, launching in 2022, must achieve that. I hope we can show what we are able to deliver on this promise as a united community. Together, we are stronger. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Anita. And it's just my task to say, first of all, a big thank you to Véronique Trillet-Lenoir for hosting this event. I think it's been an outstanding event. The speakers have been so articulate and really showing the depth and breadth of the challenge, but importantly, the real potential for solutions. And to hear such concrete decisions that can be made at the Commission and the Parliament, all for the benefit of children and young people with cancer, has been really excellent. And as always, hearing from the heart of the parents and the survivors really brings us back to the point of why we're all here today. So I just want to finish to say thank you to everybody for attending, and to say that we will ensure a visible and coordinated approach in the implementation of these initiatives. And it is a great relief, I think, for us to hear the openness to the concept of a Childhood Cancer Advisory Board to help coordinate that approach. And if this board brings together the clinicians, the academics, and importantly, the patients, parents and survivors who have the lived experience of childhood cancer in adolescents, so that we stand ready to work with you, work together and ensure that we have a coordinated implementation. So a really big thank you to all the speakers, to all of those who have attended today. Thank you very much indeed.